What if it's finally time to put that annoying bitch into a jar? What if it's finally time to do a heavy cord cutting from your toxic ex, toxic family member? What if it's time to claim your boundaries and banish anyone or anything that actively crosses them? You establish your boundaries with loved ones, friends, family, whatever. These are my boundaries, and they actively trumps through them. Maybe it's time to fucking banish them from your life, you know? Be unapologetic about what you will and won't stand for moving forward in life, starting with the dark season. Hey witches, welcome to Busy, Gritty, Inked and Witchy, a magical living podcast for the busy witch. I'm Morgan, eclectic witch of almost 25 years, Avalon priestess, and busy witch. Here we'll talk all things witchy, from current metaphysical happenings to my busy witch tips and tricks, and everything in the in-between. This podcast is my personal journey, filled with my knowledge, opinions, and unique way of looking at the world. Join me as I weave the magical and the mundane in every episode. Hey witches, welcome back to Busy, Gritty, Inked and Witchy. I'm Morgan, and today we're going to have some fun. Today's episode is the Feral Witch's Guide to the Dark Season. And for those watching on YouTube, I just got new glasses, so I'm still getting used to them because they are progressives. So you're going to see me do all kinds of weird head stuff as I go from reading to talking to you all. It's going to be a fun day. All right. So yes, the Feral Witch's Guide to the Dark Season. So recently I did a poll on my Patreon to ask about upcoming podcast topics for the dark season. Gave them a list. They voted on which ones they liked. This is one of the perks of being part of at least the second tier of my paid Patreon. The majority of the votes were for me to lean into and embrace the dark season. Things like dark deities, dark practices, all of that. So I have an absolutely gorgeous list of topics that I'm going to be doing actual research on for you. But until that happens, I'm going to kick things off in a really fun way today. So most podcasts and videos, blog posts, social media, everything, when you go to search for dark practices for the dark season, or magical practices for the dark season, or witchcraft practices for the dark season, most of them will tell you to do your shadow work. That's going to be the biggest thing you're going to see all over the place, okay? And I'm going to go ahead and even call myself out on this one. I'm going to tell you to do your shadow work too. Especially coming up in the next few weeks. There's a whole thing going on, which I will let you all know about later. So yes, I'm even going to be telling you to do your shadow work. But as a feral witch myself, which is something that I have 100% claimed this year, and many of you also have been like, hey, I'm a feral witch as well. Today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about, I did a little bit of research. So we're going to go at other practices that when you run a search, they're going to be telling you to do for the dark season. And then the feral witches version of that. That's what we're going to be talking about today. So, all right. Hold on. Let me slide up, adjust my glasses. Okay. So I'm going to start off with shadow work. Okay. Because that is the main thing that it's a great witchy practice for the dark season, okay? The nights are getting longer, the days are getting shorter, and it is a really great time to dive down inside of yourself, okay? And do some shadow working. Now, shadows, of course, they are the things that you repress, the sides of you that you don't talk about, the things that you're ashamed of, the sides of you, the personality traits, things like that you might be ashamed of. Okay. So a lot of the dark season does urge us to do shadow work. Okay. So identify the shadows, bring them to light. And generally speaking, the consensus among a lot of different things, including my own website and even past podcast episodes, not the most recent one about deepening your shadow work, but in the past, okay, the way to do that, or why you do that during the winter, is because you can dive, it's easier to dive down inside yourself. And you do this with journaling and meditation. And it's like you shine a light on the shadow and then you start to bring it up and you start to ask it questions. And again, this is done through journaling or meditation or maybe therapy. But this is how you start to integrate your shadows or accept them, heal them, integrate them into who you are now, whatever it is that your plan is with that shadow. Okay. And seasonally, if you're a witch and you take a step back and you look at the energetic cycle of seasons, we're generally told, okay, during the dark season, you hibernate, you go into yourself. It's great for introspection. You do your shadow work. You start to bring these shadows to light with Imbolc, okay, which is February 1st, okay? Imbolc, as spring, Aries season, whatever resonates the most with you, okay? That's a lot of fucking shadow working, you guys. It is, by the time this comes out, it's November. Like, I think I told you all in the Deepening Your Shadow Work episode just a few episodes ago that like something clicked in me this year about shadow work, and I realize now how surface my shadow work had been for a very long time. And now that I get shadow working and I understand it, I actually can move through shadows very quickly. Okay. Pretty quickly, in fact, from as far as like identifying a trigger, identifying the root cause of the trigger, the shadow, bringing it up, shedding light, and either integrating it, healing it, or whatever. Like, I can do it in a very short span now. All right. Now that I truly get shadow working. Okay. But like, if it's November and the Imbolc is February 1st, are you supposed to be doing shadow working like November, December, January, and then start to bring it up like towards the end of January into February? That's a lot of fucking shadow working. Like, that's a lot of just staying inside of yourself. And I think that a lot of people can get healing fatigue or shadow working fatigue. Like, man, I've been fucking shadow working for what feels like forever. And then there's some of us who don't wait till the winter to shadow work. We're just constantly shadow working all the time. As things pop up, we deal with them then because we know that repressing them and pushing them down makes them grow. So we're just constantly doing shadow work. Okay. So seriously, that's how this episode started forming in my head, was talking about shadow working. And I knew I wanted to do things from a feral witch standpoint. And I was like, what the hell? Like, that is so long. And like, they tell you the words for or buzzwords for the dark season are like cozy, comfortable, like introspective. You want to dive down inside of yourself and, you want to create a cozy environment. Okay. This is all great. Okay. And this is all shit I've said before. Okay. So were you all, or at least being able to see my evolution with this topic? Okay. What if your shadow work was not so cozy and calm? Okay. What would it look like for you to rebel in the shadows? Okay. Dive down and then integrate immediately. Use the darkness and the shadows to explore your shadow side openly. Okay. Hold on. I got to flip the page. Hold on. So if you're like, this sounds good, Morgan, but what exactly do you mean? I get you. Okay. What could this look like? Now, look, this example that I'm going to give you might make some of you uncomfortable. Okay. Don't stop the podcast. Or, maybe stop the podcast if you're listening to it on speakerphone and you got small children around. All right. may put your earbuds in. Okay. But listen, just hold on, because I'm using a very strong example to prove the point. Okay. So other podcasts, blog posts, other witches are going to tell you that in order to do shadow work, you're going to identify the shadow aspect of yourself, something you hide away from people. Okay. You're going to bring it up. You're going to explore it. But then you're going to journal about it, and you're going to meditate, and you're going to shine more light on it. And in meditation, you're going to face the shadow, and you're going to talk to it. And then you're going to journal some more. And then maybe you're going to take it to your therapist if it was a deep, dark, hidden one. And then you're going to journal some more. And then you're going to sit with it for a little while. And then you're going to meditate and talk to it again. And this is what you're going to do. This is how you shadow work. Okay. But what would it look like if you brought it up and explored it immediately? Okay. Working through it as you actively explored it. For example, and this is where you put your earbuds in. Okay. Let's say deep down inside, BDSM just, oh my God, it makes you giggle. You're like, oh, I want to try that. And you're like, but no, that's horrible. That's horrible. And for those of you who are like, what's that? It's like bondage and dominance and stuff like that in sex. Okay. So let's say that you have, like, deep down inside, you can hear the little thing going, that looks like fun. And you're like, shh, we don't tell anybody about that. Be quiet. Okay. This is why I said you need earbuds. Okay. So there's something about it that is just intriguing. Okay. So the old shadow work says, yes, dive down, meet that shadow, journal, maybe take it to a therapist, maybe journal some more, then sit with it, meditate, give it a little bit of time to kind of simmer and see how you feel about it. And then blah, 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 blah. Okay. I'm saying feral witch it, right? You're like, oh, okay, that kind of makes me get, like, I don't know. That's so crazy though. Like, I mean, I could never do that. Fucking, did you know that there are BDSM groups? I found this out in another group therapy. There's like Facebook groups and shit for that. Yeah, like meetups in your town if you live in a bigger city. I didn't know this stuff existed. And let me tell you, I am not sharing this because this is my personal journey. I found out about all of this in another like group setting, and I found it fascinating. And you guys, I'm going to be completely open with you. Like, this is not a personal experience for me, but I do know that it is a personal experience for a lot of people, or it is a shadow for a lot of people. Okay. So what if you joined an online BDSM group, you ask questions, or maybe you confide in a friend or someone that you think, a close person that you think would also be interested in it. And then you confide in them immediately and you start talking about it. So you're actively exploring it. And then, like, let's say you find out some information and you're like, oh, never mind, this is not for me. Then you journal about it and you're like, look, I explored it. I gave it a try. Wasn't for me. Or you're like, okay. And you're journaling through it as you're going through this. So you're like, okay, today I joined this online group. I was asking questions. I was reading posts. Oh my gosh, I went, and da-da-da-da-da. And you're journaling about it as you experience it, as you dip your toe in, as you are getting to know the shadow, you are also shadow working it. It's not a journal, meditate, and then try and integrate it, and then try to do it in your life. You're doing it at the same time. That's what feral witch shadow working is like. Okay. So that is a great example. And this is how I am able to shadow work so quickly now, because I realized that the shadow working is not in the journaling. The shadow working is not in the journaling and the meditation and the bringing the shadow up. It is in the integrating the shadow, whether you are going to heal it and move on from that part of your life, or whether you are going to embrace it and make it part of who you are and part of your authentic self. Okay. That is the key to shadow working. And that's what I talked about in deepening your shadow work. You can journal all day long. Okay. But I'm going to share this with you. This came from my business coach, Astrid. Journaling all day long and never doing anything about what you're journaling is just mental masturbation. And yes, I just used that word in this podcast as well. Like, what the fuck, Morgan's talking about BDSM and now masturbation. It is. If you are constantly just doing the surface level of shadow working, where you're just journaling about it and journaling about it and journaling about it and journaling about it and never fucking doing anything about it, it's just mental masturbation. You're never, ever going to get anywhere with that. Okay. It is in the doing, the experiencing, and the integration or the healing. That's where the shadow work is. Okay. So moving on to the next one, they say, and you're going to hear me say they a lot, but this is just going to be like, when I say they say, I mean the internet. Okay? They say the dark season is a great time to heal wounds. This is part of shadow working. But so again, you dive down, you find your triggers, you journal, you have therapy maybe, you journal some more, you release the wounds, blah, 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 blah. So long, so drawn out, so much writing, so much journaling. Or the feral way of doing it. You ugly cry. You burn your ex's shit safely. You embrace your sacred rage that this happened to you and this happened in your life. That pissed you off. Own it. Fucking break shit. If you don't want to break anything in your house, maybe you live in a town where they actually have one of those break stuff things. Those are fun. They really are. You could even take a lot of them will let you take your own shit to break. So let's say you are going through a bad breakup and you're pissed as shit. You've hit that sacred rage part of the breakup. You could take your ex's shit and break it. Build a no judgment zone for you to fully express what we are told you are not supposed to. There's bunny quotation marks in the air. What you aren't supposed to express. Primal scream. In your house, if you live in an apartment, they'll just understand that your neighbors may call the cops. You know, maybe you want to go out to the woods somewhere and do it, or do it in your car, you know. Break shit, be the emotion, express it, okay? So yes, the dark season is a beautiful time to heal wounds because you're doing your shadow working, because you're diving down inside of yourself, because it is the dark season, okay? So you can hibernate a little bit more, right? It's a great time to heal your wounds. But instead of just journaling everything out and do it. Actively do it. Take the emotion that comes up when you find something that triggers you. Does it trigger you into rage? Does it trigger you into grief? Cry it out. Ugly cry it out. Okay? Do whatever emotion comes up while you are doing this shadow working. Actively let it out. Do not repress it. Okay? I can speak from experience. One of my problems in life is that I do not show emotion, which is really weird because I do show emotion. I show emotion in very small bursts. And I show emotion, like I've been very open about the fact that like a commercial can make me laugh, a commercial can make me cry. I'm very good at showing emotion in little tiny bursts, but when it comes to something serious that I need to process through showing emotion, I push that shit so far down. And then I end up with issues. I end up with stomach issues. I end up with that thing where like somebody says the littlest thing and all of a sudden I'm exploding like a shook up champagne bottle. Okay? Because I'm really good at crying during movies, or I'm really good at getting really happy about something, or we do a launch and something sells out immediately and I'm overcome with gratitude and I start crying. Those are real emotions and I am great at sharing them in little bursts. But you ask me, or my therapist asks me, oh, how do you feel about the fact that your daughter, lives in a foreign country away from you? And I'm like, oh, we don't talk about that. Nope. She's one of my best friends. We don't talk about that. And I just push it back down. and that's it. We don't talk about it, I'm also a 90s kid, I consider myself Gen Xer. There's a lot we don't talk about. So yes, sharing emotion in little small bits is fine, but you need to share the emotion that's stuck down in there. Get it out. Be honest with yourself too. If somebody said something to you and it pissed you off, express the emotion for yourself. You don't necessarily need to tell them that they pissed you off unless you need to tell them that they pissed you off, unless that's part of the healing process, But if it's not, and you just need to get out that anger and that rage, do it. Okay? Express it. That's what feral witches do. That is, we're going to live in that wild woman, wild man state. Okay? All right. They will tell you to hibernate during the winter. rest, journal, be cozy, be comfy. Okay. Yeah, you can, yeah, do that. Like, I'm not telling you not to rest, and I'm not making fun of people who rest. I'm going to rest. Oh, fuck. Actually, no. No, I'm going to rest. I'm going to rest. We do take some time off work, but you have to understand Tucson's busy. Like, for me to actually go out and do shit in Tucson, it's from October to March because that's when it's actually gorgeous outside. So I hibernate during the summer when it's 115. Anyway, so yes, by all means, rest or feral witch alternative. Okay. Use the dark season to try out different things, experiment, have fun, worship your weird this winter. Okay. Try out new clothes or styles that you've been afraid to. Dye your hair that funky color. Try out a new hairstyle. I will caution against cutting your own bangs just because I have seen those horror videos on the social medias. Yeah, I wouldn't if you don't have bangs and you're thinking you might want to try bangs, go to someone who can do that for you professionally because I've seen lots of horror. Anyway, new self-care routine. Like maybe you want to try some new face products, a new makeup style, something like that. Use the dark season to embrace the different aspects of yourself, try them on and see what fits. Okay? Use the dark season to do that. You know, maybe you want to completely change your wardrobe. Try with just a few pieces, put them on, see how they see how they make you feel. Try that new hairstyle, try some new accessories. Dive into things, hold on. Yeah, dive into things that you normally wouldn't dive into. You know, subjects that you normally wouldn't dive into, subjects that make you feel a little naughty, subjects that make you feel alive, you know. Take the winter as a time for you to experiment while everyone is being quiet. Do something loud, okay? They will tell you to do protection magic during the dark season. Look, you guys, some of these I got off of our own blog, okay? I'm not going to lie. I went to our own blog because when you type in magic for the dark season, our blog is one of the first things on Google because we wrote an article just earlier this year called Magic for the Dark Season. And Miss Megan Winkler wrote it. She's amazing. And the article is really good. Okay. So what I did was I just went down this article of these are some great practices. They are, and they are practices you could try out during the dark season. I'm just going to give you a feral witch alternative. That's what we're doing here today. Feral witch alternatives. Okay. So yes, I agree. Do protection magic. It's the dark season. Lots of crazy stuff. The veil's thin, you know, lots of stuff just kind of floating around there. It's, yeah, up your wards in your house. Up your cleanse and empower your protection jewelry. By all means, yes. Feral witch alternative. Okay? What if it's finally time to put that annoying bitch into a jar? Yeah. What if it's finally time to do a heavy cord cutting from your toxic ex, toxic family member, something like that, you know? What if it's time to claim your boundaries and banish anyone or anything that actively crosses them? And I'm not saying like they accidentally cross them and then you're like, bye, you know, forever. But like, you establish your boundaries with loved ones, friends, family, whatever. These are my boundaries, and they actively tromps through them. Maybe it's time to fucking banish them from your life, you know? Be unapologetic about what you will and won't stand for moving forward in life, starting with the dark season. Take that dark time to find out what makes you tick inside. Yes, and what you will and won't deal with, what you will and won't allow in your life anymore. Set the boundaries and then keep the boundaries. That is very feral, okay? I have heard this numerous times. I'm sure I have said this before on the podcast, but the only people who will have a problem with your boundaries are those who are infringing upon them. So let that one sit for a while, because it is 100% the truth. The only people that have problems with your boundaries are the ones who are actively infringing upon them and don't give a flying fuck. Which, by them, if you have clearly stated your boundaries and they continue to move past them, then they're saying, what I want is more important than what you want. Fuck you, I'm going to do whatever I want anyway. And then they infringe upon your boundaries. So, put them in a jar. Yay! All right. They will tell you to start to cleanse and purge your home during the dark season to make it cozy. But what you're going to be doing is you're doing this with the intention of preparing yourself for renewal with the return of the sun, which again is Imbolc, okay, or Ostara, depending on how far ahead you want to go. So you just, man, that's a lot of cleaning and cleansing too. Anyway, a feral witch alternative, embrace the chaos. Maybe your decor style is hella eclectic. Cottage witch meets 90s kid meets troll. That's probably mine. It's probably my decor style. Now, not necessarily. Oh, no, wrong emphasis. Don't necessarily embrace hoarder house, especially if there is a safety issue or a health hazard, you know? Don't go hoarder house, okay? But create a space that is unapologetically you. Again, I use that word unapologetically. Unapologetic. That's what being a feral witch is, okay? If you love cryptids, for example, Bigfoot, Loch Ness Monster, Chupacabra, whatever, make an altar to them or put some artwork up, some cryptid artwork on a wall, something that makes you smile every time you look at it because you're like, that's my weird ass right there. That's my weird ass. Buy weird oddities at antique stores. Cleanse them, though. Cleanse them, please. Take the dark season to figure out your weird and run full speed with it. And if that was going to be a soundbite, I just messed it up. Oh well. Take the dark season. Yes, figure out your weird, run with full speed with it. For example, for those watching, that shelf where I'm pointing right there, that's my Alice in Wonderland shelf. It's all weird Alice in Wonderland shit that people have either given me, made for me. I've collected from antique stores. There's even some weird Alice in Wonderland shit here. And what y'all can't see are the Alice in Wonderland art and pictures and everything that I have around this room. I've embraced it. There's Dark Alice, there's Weird Alice. And then down here is just all my weird shit that I've collected over the years, including some haunted monks that came from the haunted antique store. There's Sam and Dean Pops right in there, if you're watching. There's just all kinds of weird. Oh, I have McDonald's toys down here. Like I said, Cottage Witch meets 90s kid meets troll. That's what my collective style is. So figure out your weird and fucking go full force with it during the dark season, okay? They will tell you to practice divination during dark season. You know, your oracle cards, your pendulums, scry into a mirror. Okay, feral witch alternative for you all. Light incense and stare into the smoke for 30 minutes. Look, so there's one time, like I lit incense and I intended to scry in the smoke for about 5 minutes. And the next thing I know, the incense is going out and I don't know where I went, but I fell into some kind of deep, dark meditation for a good 30 minutes. Okay. It happens. It happens. Okay. It happens the same with fire. If you light a fire in your fireplace and then you're just mesmerized by it, you might be a feral witch right? Okay. Scry in your cocoa as you add marshmallows. Make it fun. Or your soup. There's, cozy season, dark season, soup season. What is your alphabet soup trying to tell you? Is it spelling words? Could be. Explore divination types you've always been interested in but have never done. Collect bones. Like if you're going to make a lot of bone broth or something, dry the bones out. Try bone throwing. as you're cleaning your house, collect the random shit that you have one of, maybe you find a bottle cap under the sofa. All right. Take all the little weird shit that you find, one paper clip sitting over here, a hair tie over there. Collect them all together and make a charm casting kit out of it. I don't think there's anything more feral than that. Just collecting random items either on your walk, if you take a little nice fall autumn walk in the woods, and combined with the random shit you find around your house while you're cleaning, put it in a charm casting kit. Assign each one of the pieces a meaning, write it down. If I could start charm casting with a weird ass feral troll collection of shit. It's great. I love it. Try palm reading, crystal ball reading, whatever. If it's something that you haven't done, if it's something that you're interested in, give it a try during the winter. Everybody else is telling you to, be calm and cozy. I'm telling you, if I can have some fun. They will tell you to reflect on the cycle of death and dying as it appears in your life during the dark season. It's a great practice. It is. I highly recommend that you reflect on what death and dying means, or cycles of yours that are no longer around, and what new cycles do you want to begin? Because after death comes a rebirth. These are all amazing things. Feral witch alternative. Don't kill anyone. If you thought I was going to go there, I wasn't. Okay. Don't kill anyone. All right. Okay. But is it time to have a funeral for yourself? And if you're like, what the fuck is she talking about? Ink Spirit members know exactly what I'm talking about, because in February of this year, 2025, we did a funeral ritual for ourselves. So as you're doing this shadow work, as you're diving down inside of yourself, as you're processing shit, as you're healing, okay, have a funeral for the aspects of yourself that you no longer want to carry forward. Have a funeral for them. I can say too, that funeral ritual that we did in Ink Spirit, the replay is in the lesson archive. So if you're an Ink Spirit member and you're listening, February 2025, we did a whole lesson on death and transformation. And then the funeral ritual was by far one of the most emotional rituals for a lot of our members. We did it on Zoom. You could still feel the energy. It was so beautiful, but it is a personal practice that came out of my book of shadows. This is something I did a few years ago, because there was an aspect of myself, my past self, like of this life, that I was comparing to this aspect of myself. And so I was constantly, well, why can't I be her again? Why can't I be that way again? Like I was her once, like I was this person once, why can't I do it again? And I was constantly comparing myself, this person now, to someone that I was in the past, and I'm not that same person anymore. So I had a funeral for that past person, that past version of myself. I put her to rest, and I was able to move on with my life. And for me, that was so moving. And it was such a transformational ritual that I wrote it up and I shared it with the Ink Spirit Coven. And that's why we did a whole class a whole month we spent on death and transformation with this funeral ritual. So yes, you can meditate, you can journal about what death means to you, or you can have a funeral for yourself, for a past version of yourself that you no longer want to compare yourself to, or a past version of yourself who is now healed, and you can let her go or let him go. Okay. What about, is it time to energetically kill, like with a cord cutting, a toxic person or situation in your life? You can do things energetically, and you can do them not to hurt the person, unless that's your intention. You can do them to do that to just release them from your energy, sever that energetic cord between the two of you. Okay. But you can look at it as killing. If you really want to kill something, there you go. Kill some bad energy between you and somebody else. Okay. Kill a connection, a toxic connection between you and somebody. But please don't go out and be like, Morgan says death and dying season, I'm a feral witch, so I'm going to go kill somebody. Please don't. Okay. All right. So overall, they will tell you that the dark season is for introspection, hibernation, and essentially quieting yourself and your practices. Okay. You can do that 100%. And if that's what resonates with you, then by all means, get quiet during the winter. Okay. I say get loud during the winter. But look, I have a Leo moon and a Leo rising, so I don't know how to not roar. Okay. I like to be loud always. I just come from a very loud family. Okay. Get loud, explore yourself during the dark season, and then live it. Don't wait until the spring to emerge renewed. Do it during the winter. Embrace the darker aspects of yourself. If you're going to do the shadow working and you're going to find those darker aspects of yourself, embrace them and bring them to light immediately and explore them. Okay? Especially if you are a person who has seasonal depression disorder or seasonal, I can't remember. Isn't that what it's called? Like the people, like it's an actual diagnosis. Okay. And I'm not saying don't do what your doctor tells you to do, if you have seasonal depression, but a way to combat seasonal depression, especially, is to do things that make you happy. Do things that make you come to life. Do things that you feel 100% and that just light your soul on fire. Okay. These are the things. Like, why are you going to quiet down when you're already depressed? Try and do the opposite. Try and throw yourself into things that make you feel excited and make you happy and make you giggle. Okay. Those are the types of things that you could be doing during the winter instead of just withering away and journaling all fucking day. Do something. Yay. Okay. That's what I have for you all today. That's it. That's the episode. For the Patreon bonus content, I had fun with this one. So it is a dark season feral witch practices bingo card. I went bingo because it was just a fun thing. It's where my brain went, like, oh, if you're going to have fun being a feral witch during the dark season, let's gamify it, and there's not going to be a prize. You don't have to share it, like you don't have to let me know when you get bingo. But I thought for the paid Patreon members, I just thought it was a really fun thing that they could print out. And then moving through the dark season, if they do any of there's some crazy ones on there too. I had fun with this, you guys. But yes, you could just mark it off and see if you get bingo. So that's what the Patreon bonus content is. You can head to patreon.com/inkedgoddesscreations. And the bonus content comes with just the bottom tier, $5, but you also get you get the bonus content if you do the $9 or the $13 tier as well, because they stack. But yeah, just the $5 tier gets you that. And just because I am, again, recording this on a very strange schedule right now, I don't have any. Normally you get a shout out on my podcast as well. But we're in this in-between state right now. So I don't have any new Patreon members at the moment. But yeah, you also get a shout out on my podcast if you become a paid Patreon member. So, but I want to thank you all for being here. Definitely let me know in the comments, either if you're watching this on YouTube, let me know in the comments if you do some of these feral practices, or if there's anything that you're going to do that I mentioned here, or what you normally do during the dark season, whatever it is, or on the little sound bites that I post on either TikTok or Instagram. Spotify, it takes me a little bit to get the messages, like to get the comments, but with like TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, I get them pretty quickly. So you have to let me know what you thought of this episode. Please like, share, subscribe, all of that, because it tells the algorithm that the content is good and that people like it. And then what it does is it sends it to more people like you. And then, yay, we're all just being feral witches during the dark season. And how amazing is that? So thank you all for being here, for giving me a platform to share my crazy ass self. And I will see you all next week. Bye.